Hello everybody and welcome back for the weekly VR news where I keep you up to date on everything going on in the VR industry, prepare you for this week's new VR game releases, and then focus in on a few major stories. Things continue to get better and better for the VR industry, with plenty of high-quality titles releasing, sequels announced for some of the best VR games, an insane number of high-quality ports and VR mods keep coming our way, people are speculating Counter-Strike 2 may come to VR, and finally we're getting full-body trackers that should work on all headsets. Now, I'm absolutely pumped for all of these new games in VR, and I'd love to hear how you're feeling or your feedback on this video down in the comments. There are, of course, links and timestamps if you want to skip ahead, but before we jump in, this video is brought to you by my sponsor, Kiwi Design. They currently make my favorite Quest 2 Elite strap, which comes in multiple different versions. You can add an extra battery pack, high-quality headphones, or even both. They also have other products like Valve Index-style hand straps, and they just introduced a brand new RGB stand. Your controllers and headset magnetically connect. There's a charging indicator so you'll know when your headset's ready to go. And there's plenty of different RGB color options available. There's a link to Kiwi Design down in the description. And don't forget to use discount code Mateo311 for 5% off and to help support this channel. Okay, so I've been starting these videos off with a quickie review, and I highly recommend you check out the recently released Ghost Signal on the Quest 2. This is one of the absolute best roguelite titles I've played in VR, and since it's not very physically active and can be played seated, it's great for marathon runs. The first day I got this title, I completely drained my Quest 2 battery back-to-back twice, as I was absolutely addicted and couldn't put the game down. The combat's highly strategic, you never know what to expect from each encounter, and unlocking permanent upgrades over time feels extremely rewarding. So if you're looking for a roguelite title that's really interesting to play, and isn't physically demanding like many other VR titles, then I highly recommend you check out this game. But let's move on to new releases, and first up is Galaxy Kart. This is a brand new arcade racer similar to Mario Kart. There's 9 diverse characters to choose from, all with their own unique skills, plenty of different power-ups that you'll be picking up by hand, and plenty of unique tracks that put the focus on combat in order to take first place. I'm generally curious to see how this game plays in VR, as Mario Kart is highly addictive, but not many people have been able to capture that same magic. But on the topic of capturing magic, the new survival shooter Ghost of Tabor is now available, and I have not spoken about it enough. Now, this plays similar to Escape from Tarkov, where you're dropped in a fairly desolate world, need to scavenge for weapons and resources, the competition is brutal, and you can expect to get ambushed. Now, I've only played about 1 to 2 hours of this game, so I can't speak to the title itself that much, but what I do want to mention is the absolutely amazing success it has been. For a PCVR only title to have 1,000 active users is pretty amazing. It's up there competing, if not surpassing, the OG title Pavlov. And this is both a testament to the quality of the game and the fact that the developers are giving us a unique experience that we don't normally get in VR. And I'm going to take this opportunity to compare the title against Vail VR. Now, if you're familiar with my channel, you'd know I've been very dubious about Vail. It wasn't offering anything unique or special to the VR world. Being a PCVR only title, I was expecting a small player base, and a lot of moves that the studio was making was raising some red flags. They were following trends like stating they now have a metaverse, focusing on live events before the game even released, and there were other things like NFT sales and a pretty excessive amount of paid sponsorships. So I previously voiced my concerns that I thought the game was overhyped, and I was skeptical about its future. Now, I don't bring this up to throw shade at Vail, but rather just to state that you can be a successful PCVR multiplayer title as long as you bring something new and special. But at this point, I wouldn't be surprised if Vail announces that they have a survival mode on the way. But let's move on to the next major release, and that is Vertigo 2. This is a brand new half-like title that has been my most anticipated VR game for years now. As of recording this, I've just about finished through the game, and I will have a full review up tomorrow, so make sure to subscribe to the channel and turn those notifications on. Vertigo 2 is basically Half-Life meets Rick and Morty. It has that old school immersive storytelling style, and all I'll say is the developer has absolutely outdone himself on this one. There's a roughly 45-minute demo available of this game up on Steam, so go ahead and download it and you'll know what you're getting into. But for any fan of older shooters like the original Half-Life or Half-Life 2, I highly recommend you check out this game. Now, that was the short but extremely sweet list of new releases, but I still have 5 additional game announcements to go over. First up, Polyarc, the developers of the absolutely amazing platformer Moss, is working on a competitive multiplayer title, and you could sign up to be a playtester right now. Now, there's very little information publicly available at the moment, but based on the artwork, it looks like we might be controlling different characters from the Moss universe, and this could be anything from an isometric fighter down to a MOBA title. Either way, I'm extremely excited, but a MOBA title with a Moss-like perspective sounds absolutely amazing. There's a link down in the description if you want to sign up to be a playtester, and I'll make sure to keep you guys up to date with any new information. Next up, we got a release date for the VR port of Kill It With Fire, which is coming on April 13th. Kill It With Fire is a cartoony shooter that puts you up against spiders with the most unconventional type of weapons. Who needs bug spray when you have frying pans, shotguns, flamethrowers, and explosives? If nothing else, it'll be a ridiculously fun time in VR, and I'm looking forward to checking it out. But a game that is definitely amazingly fun and I did get to check out is a Medieval. I just got back from PAX East and was blown away by their demo. This is a port of their Quake-style boomer shooter, which is extremely fast-paced, features huge open worlds, a large array of unique weapons, and plenty of brutal combat. I walked away from the game filled with adrenaline and absolutely pumped. If you're familiar with the flat screen game, you're gonna love this title. And for everyone else, it's going to feel like something fresh and new. Now, previously this game was delayed, but it now has an official release date of April 20th. Now, we also had two amazing sequels announced, and the first one is Pixel Ripped 1978. The studio's now officially working with Atari, and they've created a whole storyline about developing classic console games, where you need to actually physically enter the game to debug it. The concept sounds absolutely fantastic. I love the retro aspects, and the unique blend of mechanics that the Pixel Rip series provides still remains quite unique to VR. So it doesn't matter if you're a Pixel Ripped fan or someone who's never experienced the series, you should keep an eye out for this title. And in similar fashion, the quirky survival room I Expect You to Die is getting their third installment. I Expect You to Die was a classic VR title filled with plenty of unexpected death and hilarious moments. The production value significantly shot up for the second game, featuring a fantastic performance from Will Wheaton, and I can't wait to see what they have in store for us for the third title. And finally, we got another glimpse of the story-driven shooter Into the Darkness. Now, this game's actually been in development for years, was previously being compared to Boneworks, and I tried an early demo that showed a lot of promise, but was still rough around the edges. Well, it's been over a year since that demo, and they're now teasing us with new game mechanics, swimming sections, excellent combat, and lots of action. Now, I'm hoping the game is as good as it looks, and they've ironed out their bugs. Currently, Into the Darkness is expected to release by the end of this year. Now, even sooner than that, it looks like we're getting Counter-Strike 2. As a flat screen title, you might be wondering why I'm bringing this game up. At minimum, it just shows that we have no idea what to expect from Valve. Not only are they giving us a completely revamped Counter-Strike, they added some truly unique features like volumetric smoke. Now, obviously, the big question mark is, will we see Counter-Strike come to VR? Now, this is a Source 2 game, the same engine that was used for Half-Life Alyx, but it's much more likely their focus will be on the flat screen community. VR is still a very small subset of their gamers, and while I believe Valve would love to bring this to VR, I don't believe they will if it compromises the flat version in any way. So let's just keep our fingers crossed and see what happens. Now, something that we don't have to wish for is new Flat the VR mods. Dr. Beef is at it again, and there's now a playable version of Star Wars Jedi Knight Jedi Academy. This is a standalone version that you can play on both the Quest 2 or the Pico 4, but it's currently only available to their Patreon members. This is still an early release, so you can expect plenty of issues, and eventually there will be a free version, but if you want to support Dr. Beef's amazing team, go check out their Patreon page. Now, another absolutely amazing mod comes for the just released Resident Evil 4 remake. Prey Dog's master mod team didn't waste any time, and you could jump in right now and start playing. Currently, it still takes on the third-person viewpoint, but they do have a first-person mod in the works, which will be releasing at a later date. So move over Quest, we now have the best way to experience Resident Evil 4 in VR, and Sony really has no excuses, and better give us a top-notch VR mode on the PlayStation VR 2. And that finally wraps up all of our gaming stories, but we have two pretty huge hardware topics. It looks like ByteDance was gearing up to make a major announcement and let us know that the Pico 4 was coming to the US market. Unfortunately though, ByteDance's other company TikTok is currently under major scrutiny from the US Congress. So it looks like they're waiting for this to unfold and see if there's possibly a ban of TikTok in the US before they move into the US market. TikTok would be an absolutely fantastic tool to help sell that product here, so delaying absolutely makes sense. Now, I don't want to get political, but if you've watched any of the hearings, congressional representatives from the US are just embarrassing themselves with their complete lack of technical knowledge. They've been unnecessarily aggressive towards TikTok's CEO, and it looks much more like a series of accusations rather than any type of fact-finding endeavor. Now, this is not me supporting TikTok, I'm just calling it like I see it. But I wouldn't be surprised if there was some heavy lobbying to suppress TikTok in the US. If there's any real evidence that they're sending data to the Chinese government or breaking the law in any other manner, sure, let's shut them down, fine them, do whatever we have to do. But hopefully this all gets straightened out in the near future and we get to see the Pico 4 come to the US market, because Meta definitely needs some more competition. And speaking of competition, it looks like we're finally getting a high quality alternative to Vive trackers. HTC recently announced self-tracking trackers. Now that might sound crazy, but this is the same move that VR headsets went through, starting with outside-in devices such as the Steam base stations, and moving to inside-out, where cameras on the device itself determines its position. So going forward, we will no longer need base stations. These can technically work with any VR device, and a feature that I absolutely love is we'll only need one USB dongle. Now, besides tracking your full body in VR, trackers also work really well for mixed reality content. Placing a tracker on your camera allows you to physically move through the VR environment with a physical person on a green screen. So if you're a mixed reality content creator, this should give you some new options.
And that was today's video, brought to you by my dad, Mateo311. If you enjoyed it, please go ahead and give it a thumbs up. And if you're new here,
Consider subscribing.
consider subscribing.
Consider subscribing.
Consider subscribing.
Consider subscribing. We'll see you guys on next time.
We'll see you guys on next time.